What is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday covering all the four major sports leagues, whether that be NFL, NHL, MLB, or NBA, and whether it be news, games, highlights, all that fun stuff. But in today's episode for our NBA segment, we're going to continue with free agency frenzy, Nick. And I think, a lot of stuff happened. And we'll kind of be grading these extensions, maybe, or just, giving our thoughts. First, we'll start off with a couple Celtics extensions. The Jason Tatum extension, largest contract in history. For me, is Jason Tatum deserving of this? Maybe. He was the best player on the championship team, but he wasn't really the best player in the playoffs. I think this, you're paying your star players. I think I would give the Derek White extension an A because he is worth $25 million with all he does is able to knock down shots, defend the best player if he wants to. Typically, Drew Holiday does, but Derek White has those capabilities as well. They need to do the Jason Tatum. Is it a lot of money that I, ideally wouldn't want to pay that much to make someone the highest paid player? Probably a B because you're paying one of your best players that just won the championship. And I give Derek White, who's arguably the best role player in the league, for $25 million, which is kind of cheap. Seeing that Hartenstein went for 29, I think Derek White's a better player, but that's neither here nor there. So I'd give overall Boston had a good day, just locking up their best players. Like I said, I'd probably give the Tatum one a B just because it is a little too much. Ideally, maybe for the future that can hurt, but in the short term, it's a great one. I think the Derek White one was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it as a Celtics fan. As long we're bringing back, the starting five for at least the next 2 years, and I know Porzingis is the one that's his contract's like the smallest. Like I think he signed like a 2-year extension for like $60 million during the season. He's probably the guy that I think is going to go first. It's either him or Holiday. But I think
Holiday just signed his extension.
Yeah. The one thing would be like maybe a trade, like if Holiday's getting older and the team's trying to dump some money. But I think Porzingis would be the one that you'd have to replace first. But, I mean, as of right now, they're running it back. They had, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people's other opinions, the best starting five in the league. And that's why they, kind of walked through the playoffs. It is a lot of money. But I didn't think I figured they were going to give him the max no matter what, especially after winning a championship. Like all these guys are going to get paid, even if you want to say he wasn't the best player because he wasn't. It was probably Jaylen Brown, or you could even argue Jrue Holiday was better than Tatum throughout the playoffs. But I mean, I don't think he was going to sign anything less than the max.
Yeah, no, and I do agree. It's something you had to do. Just ideally,
you got to make him happy. Like,
yeah,
because if you offered him less than the max and said, "Well, you weren't really our best player," then all of a sudden you've got some, issues with management, and then maybe he doesn't want to be here after next year.
No. I mean, what I've done it probably is just, I can't give. Just like looking at the value of the contract, like I think Derek White, it's like an A+.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean for sure.
And just Tatum, it's one you had to do. B, really just locking up your best players. Moving on into the next one because that's more so just re-signings, important ones though. Klay Thompson does the sign trade to Dallas. I am not a fan of this. 3 years. For Klay Thompson, who's really regressed, it's kind of a question mark. I would have done maybe 2 years. It's fine value. I mean, he's still a great three-point shooter, but I just can't imagine he has really slowed down as a defender, and you still have Luka Doncic there, who's one of the slowest defenders in the league, and you have Kyrie. It just seems like a weird fit. Klay will be probably coming off the bench, playing some minutes. I think that'll provide a scoring spark, because in the Boston series they couldn't hit 3-pointers for, and shit. And, this will be able to help them on the offensive end. But I think it's just going to be a weird fit. That was the one team, I feel like he could have fit in with the Lakers, but not sure how this will fit. I think, if he can just give you an offensive scoring plug, 20 minutes, a night, it'll be good, but he's also very inconsistent now. We saw the last game he played with the Warriors, 0 for 10. I think it's going to be a weird one. I mean, we'll see how it plays out, though. But as of right now, I'm giving this like a C plus. Not high.
Yeah. Yeah, I was very surprised when I saw it on my phone. I was like, whoa, like I know he like said he was going to be talking to them, but I figured he'd either go back to Golden State on like some sort of, team friendly deal or go to the Lakers. I was not expecting Dallas. So, I mean,
Yeah,
we'll see how it is. I don't really know if this is what Dallas needs, like you said, but I mean, we'll see. If he can go back to the Clay he used to be, then this will be huge for them, adding,
yeah,
another incredible 3-point shooter, but
yeah. No, and if he can just provide that scoring spark, that's fine. But his defense is really slowed down, and I can't see him and Luka playing together. That'd be like the slowest duo backcourt of all time on defense. Overall, though, Dallas gets a scoring plunge that they didn't get from Tim Hardaway, but they also made a lot of under the radar moves that we didn't put up here just because we did the biggest names. But you also have they had Derek Jones leave, which kind of stinks. But they brought in players like Najee Marshall, just different utility guys to help them out. So they didn't have a bad free agency. It was just this move I wasn't so sure on.
mm-hmm.
Now I want to get your thoughts on the next one.
Isaiah Hartenstein. I was surprised. I thought, when they traded for Bridges, I was like, oh snap, like all those guys are gonna want to run it back. I don't know a ton about Hartenstein. I know he was like he was hurt in the playoffs, correct?
No, he played.
Oh, he played? I don't know why I thought okay. I must be thinking of somebody else.
Great rim protector, basically, and great rebounder.
Yeah, I know OKC's gonna have 2 7-foot plus big men and him and Chet now. So I mean, I don't know how much OKC needed it. I mean, money wise, I don't know. Do you think he's worth it? Because I feel like that's a lot of money for him.
I think it's a slight overpay, but they get a great rim protector. I am just curious about this fit because a lot of people had some question marks after he signed here because you could obviously, Isaiah Hartenstein fit well with the Knicks just because, especially in the playoffs, you had Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo out there, and even the regular season, just different guys like Julius Randle, all guys that could shoot. I have some question marks about this fit just because as great as, SGA is, he's not really a three-point shooter. He's more of a mid-range guy. Jalen Williams doesn't take a lot of three-pointers compared to what people would think. Chet Holmgren is an inconsistent three-point shooter. So, and Isaiah Hartenstein obviously doesn't shoot. And then you have Caruso who can knock down some threes. So I would say my biggest problem with OKC is can they, keep up with high leverage offense guys? Because basically they were going 5 out last year. And, they would just let SGA run through the middle. But can, this fit work and can Chet Holmgren consistently develop that 3-point consistent shot is one of the question marks I have. But overall, they upgrade, they get some size, and, they get a great rim protector and just defender. And I just want to say this. A lot of people – I wanted to give a shout out to Tim Conley and the Timberwolves because a lot of people have now been trying to copy what they've been doing. When the league went small, that famous Rockets, thing, and the Warriors going small. The Timberwolves went big, and they got the 2 7-footers to kind of work together. And I think people have seen how great you can make it work with time. And I think a lot of teams are trying to do that now. They're trying to get that size and physicality that, the Timberwolves have. And I think, people are trying to copy, and I think it's kind of cool. The league is following what they've been doing, with this Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren mix. And I've seen it with a couple other teams, they're just trying to get some big dudes in there at their power forward position, which, is, kind of, something new from what we've seen over the late 2010s into the early 2020s.
I see where you're coming from, but I feel like the Timberwolves one is such an outlier compared to the rest because they had the best 3-point shooting center in the game, and they added a 3-time defensive player of the year. So I feel like these are a little
It's still
different.
but Chet Holmgren, to his credit, I mean, it was inconsistent, but he's 3-point shooter. He's like 38%. So he's he's really good. And Isaiah Hartenstein, even though he isn't a Rudy Gobert style, he is. I think he had like a 9 field goal percentage lower than league average, and like when people were attacking him at the rim. So he's still a really good defender, and I think they're trying to replicate some of that. I mean, I'm not saying they are replicating it to the Timberwolves extent, but I think people are seeing just what the physicality and size problem can bring to some teams.
I get it. I'm just gonna have to, see it work to believe it.
I am too, because I have some question marks because
Yeah.
SGA isn't a 3-point shooter like Anthony Edwards. SGA I think is as of right now still better than Anthony Edwards, but SGA's game is mid range. Anthony Edwards can shoot the 3 better. Just space the floor much more. Mike Conley, 40+% 3-point shooter. Alex Caruso is a good 3% 3-point shooter, but isn't that. And then Jalen Williams just doesn't really take a lot of threes, but is efficient. So maybe will Jalen Williams have to take some more threes? Will Chet? Will SGA? I'm curious how that will kind of all work for the OKC offense.
One thing with this team, they're going to be very good defensively. Alex Caruso, SGA, I believe, is pretty good on the defensive side of the ball.
Steals aren't everything, but he's better than most star guards that work on the offensive end. He's above average.
He's not like Luka, where guys are just flying
about. So OKC's defense could be top 5 this year, undoubtedly. Maybe number 1. But that offense, could take a little bit of a step back unless they are able to fix some things. I'm just curious how it'll all work. But OKC did get better with the signing Isaiah Hartenstein, great rim protector, and now you have 2 freaks of nature with him and Chet. Next move, Tyrese Maxey, extension with Philadelphia. That's an A. I think, Tyrese is a baller. You just lock up the big 3 officially. So even though we talked about the Paul George move yesterday, but Tyrese Maxey is a dog, and I love that guy. So that's an A for me.
Me too. I totally agree. I love Tyrese Maxey, even though he plays for the Sixers. And, if I had to pick a team that I don't like in the NBA, it would be the Sixers. But
Tyrese Maxey is just a lovable guy with that smile.
He's fun to watch. He's very fun to watch.
He's a dog. And then news this morning, Donovan Mitchell re-signed with the Cavs. It's got to be an A for me. Donovan Mitchell showing the playoffs what he is. This Cavs team is looking to take that next step, and you got to do that by re-signing your best player. Still, the question marks with Garland, Mobley, Allen, will they all be back? But they get Kenny Atkinson, who's one of the better coaches on the market, and they lock up their best player. There's no other way to put it than an A, because there were question marks, about what would happen with him. But they keep him. They keep your best player, so that essentially means for me, Cavs are still going to be a playoff team.
I was surprised that it was only 3 years. I figured if he was going to sign an extension, it would be 4.
I think he wants to see the direction and what it's like, because
it's
in 4 years, really. So, he's still going to be 31, 32. So still prime. He'll want, maybe to see what the market's like then, which I wouldn't blame him. So, but Cavs will take that. He's essentially locked up for the next 4 years. So that's huge. And then the biggest trade we didn't talk about yesterday that happened over the weekend, Dejounte Murray goes to New Orleans for Larry Nance and a couple, I believe it was first-round picks, like 2 first-rounders. And for me, I mean, the haul the Hawks gave up to get him, this return isn't ideal, but I also don't think it's really necessarily great for the Pelicans. Dejounte Murray's a bucket getter. But I'm curious, what will they do? Will it be him and Brandon Ingram and Zion? Dejounte Murray really took a huge step back defensively, and from his Spurs days, it was kind of one of the worst plus-minus guys in the league last year. So I have some question marks about this move, but they got a pure bucket getter in Dejounte Murray. I can respect that. But overall, for the Hawks, you got a couple first-round picks back, and you weren't going anywhere, actually. But, obviously, just the haul you gave up, it sucks looking back 2 years ago when you were looking to take that next step after making the ECF. I'd give this, for the Hawks to still get a couple picks in return, like a B. And for the Pelicans, I have some question marks about the fit, but Dejounte Murray is a pure bucket getter, so I'd give it like a B-.
Yeah, I think it's a good deal. I might say a B or a B plus. I might be a little higher on DeJounte Murray than you are, but I just think it's a good another scoring piece for New Orleans. I don't know if it'll get them over into that, 7, 6, 5 seed. It all really depends on if Zion stays healthy, which has been his whole career, like the big if. But I mean, I did see him go off against the Celtics later in the year. I know it was on like 40 something shots, but he dropped like 45 and beat them like, I think in overtime or something. So he did have that crazy game. But I don't mind the move. I think New Orleans did need to, do something and not just kind of stay middle of the pack like they've been for the past few years. So, like I said, I don't mind it. I know you might know more about it than me, but on the surface level,
I've just seen some videos about him and just, I don't know, plus minuses and everything, but he's kind of, the fit never really worked. The offense is always there, but I think the defense kind of has taken a huge step back from the San Antonio days. So I don't really know what he'll provide. And I just think him and Brandon Ingram might be a weird fit, but we'll see if they can make it work because they do need offense, and you get it right here. But I'm also curious what they do with Brandon Ingram because there have been rumors that they might move off of him. So who knows?
That would be kind of a big, big name on the market because, I mean, he's Brandon Ingram's good. He just doesn't get talked about because he's,
And he did have a bad playoffs, so, but OKC, just clamped him down because he was their best player. No Zion. They only focused on him, and that gave him hell. So, kind of what I expected. But with that being said, overall, been a crazy first couple of days. There's still going to be many more signings. But that was free agency day 2 recap. And Donovan Mitchell, I guess, technically early day 3 this morning. But with that being said, we'll be here to cover it out. Every team, making moves. The defending champs looking to stay strong. These teams look like Dallas, signing Clay, looking to catch the defending champs. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. And we'll catch you next one. Peace.